HBO's Band of Brothers chronicles many of the major engagements in the European theater following D-Day, but one of the most significant occurred 80 years ago, on June 13, 1944. Among the most powerful and resonant aspects of Band of Brothers production is its strict adherence to real history. Although there are some historical inaccuracies, many of Easy Company's engagements and experiences are recreated faithfully, with the result being a less sensational and more realistic narrative. The show's depiction of events on June 13, 1944 is no exception. Part of what makes Band of Brothers' June 13 conflict so crucial is the wider context of the war. In the early episodes of the miniseries, the narrative concentrates on the build-up to D-Day and the assault on mainland Europe itself. However, while D-Day remains a hugely significant moment in the history of the Second World War, it is often all too easy to forget the importance of what came in the immediate aftermath, as both Allied and German forces battled to seize the initiative. This history is part of what makes Band of Brothers' D-Day follow-up so enthralling, with its emphasis on the conflict around the small town of Corentin. The Battle of Corentin ended on June 13, 1944. It's the focus of Band of Brothers, Episode 3, Corentin. Corentin battle Allied soldier taking aim with his rifle. Band of Brothers. As explained in Band of Brothers, the Battle of Corentin began in the immediate aftermath of D-Day. The engagement began on June 10, with members of the 101st Airborne Division attacking fortified Germans down what became known as Purple Heart Lane due to the number of American soldiers that were wounded as part of the engagement. The battle then raged for 4 days, with the Germans launching a savage counterattack in a bid to retake the lightly defended town. As shown in Band of Brothers, this resulted in one of the most intense urban engagements in the immediate aftermath of D-Day. Although the Band of Brothers episode, Corentin, understandably focuses on the experiences of Easy Company, the episode nonetheless makes clear that the battle to take the town was a complex and brutal affair. Although Band of Brothers suggests a somewhat condensed time period, Corentin was not actually taken until June 12. Even then, a massive German counterattack, supported by a tank division, made victory anything but certain, with all companies in the 101st coming under extreme pressure until the 2nd Armored Division provided welcome relief. This brought the battle to a close on June 13. Why Corentin was so important after D-Day? It had strategic significance for both sides. A gunner in Band of Brothers. As explained in Band of Brothers Episode 3, Corentin was crucial to the continued success of the Allies' Normandy invasion. Strategically, the town lay between the beachheads of Omaha and Utah Beach. This meant that, from an American perspective, capturing it would allow the Allies to create a single contiguous defensive line, as well as furthering their advance. This meant that, in the event of a larger German counteroffensive, Allied forces would be able to fight on a single front, rather than becoming isolated and easily defeated. Conversely, from the German perspective, holding Corentin would give them a major advantage.